Okay. Okay, so we're reading from Bhagavad Gita, the 1972 edition, chapter 1, verse 2. So we covered chapter 1, verse 1 a few days ago. So we're going to recite the Sanskrit. Here you can see the Roman translation. Here we go. And anyone who's looking to learn the shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, they can contact me. I have this wonderful software called the Bhakti Vedanta Database, where anyone can read the Bhagavad Gita. You can see here, and then hear the Sanskrit, and then read the synonyms, and read the translation and purport. So this is how the Bhagavad Gita should be understood in a systematic process. So let's hear the Sanskrit, and we'll hear the synonyms, then the translation and purport. Okay.
Sanjaya Uvacha Drishva tu Pandavanekam
Vyodham
Vyudham
danastada
Duryodhanastada
acharyam
Acharyam Upasangamya
upasangamya
Raja
raja
Vachanam
vachanam
Abravit.
apravit. Sanjaya uvacha
Sanjaya Uvacha
dristva
Drishva tu
tu
Pandavanikam
pandavanikam
Vyudham
vyodham
Duryodhanastada
duyyodanastada
Acharyam
acharyam
Upasangamya
upasangamya
Raja
raja
Vachanam
vachanam
Abravit.
apravit. One more time.
Sanjaya Uvacha Drishva tu
Tu
Pandavanikam
pandavanikam
Vyudham
duyyodanastada
Duryodhanastada
acharyam
Acharyam
upasangamya
Upasangamya
raja
Raja Vachanam
vachanam.
Abravit.
So there you go. That was the chapter 1, verse 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. Very easy to say. Sanjaya uvacha dristva tu pandavanikam vyodham duyyodanastada acharyam upasangamya raja vachanam apravit. So let's go for the synonyms word by word meaning. Sanjaya, uvacha, said, dristva, after seeing. Two, but Pandavanikam, the soldiers of the Pandavas, Vyodham, arranged in military phalanx. Duryodhan, King Duryodhan, Tada, at that time. Acharyam, Acharyam, the teacher. Upasangamya, approaching nearby. Raja, the king. Vachanam, words. Apravit, spoke. Huh? Sanjaya uvacha dristva tu pandavanikam vyodham duyyodanastada acharyam upasangamya raja vachanam apravit. So let's read the translation. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army gathered by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhan went to his teacher and began to speak the following words. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army gathered by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhan went to his teacher and began to speak the following words. Srila Prabhupada's wonderful purport, how to understand verse 2 of chapter 1. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual wisdom. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Prabhupada makes two interesting statements in the first two sentences. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth, and then he says he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. So, all these three sentences, if you really read about these four sentences, let's count. Okay, one, two, three. Okay, these three sentences are speaking about Dhritarashtra's upbringing, and then he was also bereft of spiritual vision, and his sons were also bereft, equally blind in the matter of religion. So they were never able to reach a understanding, or never reach a what should you call it? Never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who are all pious since birth. So generally, we see that people who are pious and who are God conscious, They cannot come to an understanding with the people who are demoniac. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. He wanted, therefore, to encourage he wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king, and thus he warned him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. So, mm, so Sanjaya was explaining to Dhritarashtra that, hey, this sacred place of pilgrimage where everyone is gathered to fight, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yuyutsava. He was doubtful because he knew that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion as he was. And then Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking. Sanjaya was saying, okay, this conversation going on, I'm questioning you. So by my question, he could understand what was going inside the mind of Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra wanted, Sanjaya wanted to encourage, you know, the lame king or the despondent king. So then it goes, where Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhan, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief Dronacharya to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhan is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician, but Duryodhan's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas. So, wow. So this verse is fully about Dhritarashtra's mindset. What was going on in the mind of Dhritarashtra? He was at one side fearful that his sons won't be successful in the battle because he he was they were all impious from birth, and the Pandavas were pious. So then Duryodhan, being a king, he went to a superior person, the commander in chief. So who was the commander in chief? It was Dronacharya. So systematically, the scene is getting set up. They assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Samaveta, Yuyutsava. Now Dhritarashtra is inquiring from Sanjaya what's going on the battlefield, and here Duryodhan is getting ready to go see the commander in chief, because when Duryodhan saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas, he really got scared. So he went to the Dronacharya to inform him of their real position. So one thing is very important here. If you look at the Sanskrit here, uh, Sanjaya uvacha dristva tu pandavanekam vyudham duyodanastada acharyam upasangamya. So this word acharya is very important. If you really read Prabhupada's books, you see here the word acharya comes up. So the acharya is, in this case, it's referring to who? Oh, well, we refer to Srila Prabhupada as our guru and spiritual master. Here, the acharya is Dronacharya. You can see here, Dronacharya, the commander in chief. There you go. Commander in chief. Who's the commander in chief? It is Dronacharya. So in our disciplic succession, who's the commander in chief? The acharya is the commander in chief. That is Srila Prabhupada. So we accept this knowledge from the acharya, and then we read it, and we have discussions among the devotees or students, and then we come to a conclusion. So this Bhakti Vedanta Veda-based tool is a great tool to study the books of Prabhupada, hear his conversations, lectures, because it contains the whole archive of what Prabhupada has done and what is actually physically recorded. So we have covered verse 1 and verse 2. So if you're watching this online on Facebook or on YouTube, if you want to join, kindly send me a message and then we can read together. Let's go to verse 3. Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyodham Drupad Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. So let's hear it.
पश्यैतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम् आचार्य महतीं च व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येण धीमता पश्यैतां
Tam Panduputranam Acharya
आचार्य
Mahatim Chamum Vyodham
व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण
Trena Tava
तव
Shishyena
शिष्येण धीमता
Dhimata.
पश्यैतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम्
Panduputranam Acharya
आचार्य
Mahatim
महतीं च
Chamum
व्यूढां
Vyodham
द्रुपदपुत्रेण
Trena
तव
Tava
शिष्येण
Shishyena
धीमता
Dhimata. Okay. So let's see. Pashya, behold, Edam, this Panduputranam of the sons of Pandu, Acharya, O teacher, Mahatim, great Chamum, military force, Vyodham, arranged Draupade, Putrena, the sons of Draupadi, Tava, your, Shishyena, disciple, Dhimata, very intelligent. So the translation goes, O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Who was the son of Drupada? And huh? Duryodhan, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmana commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupad, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. It's pretty interesting. If you do not know the history of the Mahabharata, Prabhupada reveals some of these things. Like Draupad is the father of Draupadi, who was the wife of Arjuna. As a result of this quarrel between Draupada, performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. So this is the chivalrous spirit the Kshatriyas have. Back then when the Kshatriyas got defeated by another Kshatriya, uh, they used to go to the devatas or the devis, and they used to pray to get a son who would be more powerful than the person who defeated them. So in this case, Draupada went to the devatas and prayed for a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Uh, Draupada performed a great sacrifice. Oh, here we start again. As a result of this, where were we? Okay. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet, as a liberal Brahmana, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Dristadumna, was entrusted to him for military education. So here it talks about the qualities of Dronacharya. Huh? Even though Dronacharya knew that this person who I'm training here is going to kill me in the future, he still imparted the science of the military education. Hmm? So this is the quality of the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are truthful. They uphold the Vedic scriptures. As a Brahmana, anyone who is qualified to learn, whenever the Brahmana is approached, he teaches them. So in this case, Dronacharya, being a Brahmana, he learned the science of the military education from, I think he learned it from Parashuram, and he taught it to the Pandavas, and also he taught it to Dristadumna, who was going to kill him in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So this is pretty interesting, huh? If you knew that someone was going to kill you in the future, that this person who's born is going to kill you in the future, will you teach him the science that he's going to use to kill you with? That's pretty interesting. Now, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna took the side of the Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for the military phalanx after having learned the art from Dronacharya. So here, the student highlight. The student learns from the spiritual master and then uses the same science on the spiritual master to kill him. This is how the Kshatriyas work. Dronacharya was a Brahmana, and the Brahmana that got killed by the Kshatriya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fight. Duryodhana, being a politician, pointed out the defect of Dronacharya teaching Drishtadyumna the science in the military art. So he said, "Hey, grandfather Dronacharya, pointing out the defect that this person who you taught the science of fighting is fighting against you, and he's using the same techniques that you have taught us. He's using the same techniques against us." By this, he wanted to point out also that he should not be similarly lenient in the battle against the Pandavas, who were also Duryodhana's affectionate students. Here, Prabhupada is giving the insights that Dronacharya's favorite students were who? The Pandavas. Affectionate students. Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna, especially, was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat. So, Duryodhana, a great king, was pointing out the defects of Dronacharya. He's saying that he taught the science to the Pandavas and Drishtadyumna. They're also your very favorite students. So you please kindly fight with all your power, not being lenient. And if you are lenient, then we're going to lose the battle. If Dronacharya became lenient because the Pandavas were his favorite students, especially Arjuna, then it would be defeat for Duryodhana's party, which Dronacharya was on the party of Duryodhana. All right, let's go to chapter 1, verse 4. Atra Sura Maheshvasha Bhimarjuna Samayudhi Yudhano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharataha. So let's hear.
अत्र शूरा महेश्वासा भीमार्जुन समायुधि युधानो विराटश्च द्रुपदश्च महारथः अत्र शूरा
Maheshvasha Bhimarjuna Samayudhi Yudhano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharata. All right. So let's hear the synonyms, word for word meanings. Atra, here, Sura, heroes, Mahesvasha, mighty, bowmen, Bhima, Arjuna, Bhima and Arjuna, Sama, equal, Yudhi, in the fight, Yuyudhana, Virat, Virata, Cha, also, Drupada, Cha, also, Maharata, great fighter. So the translation here in this army there are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. There are also great fighters like Yudhana, Virat, and Drupada. So let's hear the purport. Even though Drishtadyumna was not very important, even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there were many others who were the cause of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them. So, this is pretty interesting, huh? Duryodhana is comparing the military strength of Bhima and Arjuna compared to others. Even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there were others who were the cause of fear. Hmm? They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them. So, a comparative strength Duryodhana is giving is comparing people, the fighters. So, let's go to number 5.
धृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः
काशीराजस्तवीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैब्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः
धृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः
चेकितानः काशीराजस्तवीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैब्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः
धृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैव्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः.
So let's go to the synonyms. Dishtaketu, Dishtaketu, Chekitanaha, Chekitana, Kashiraja, Kashiraja, Cha, also Viryavan, very powerful, Purujit, Purujit, Kunti Bhojas, Kunti Bhoja, Cha, and Shaibya, Shaibya, Cha, and Narapungavaha, heroes in human society. So, there are also great heroic powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kasiraj, Purujit, Kuntibhoj, and Shaibya. So there we go. We covered verses 2 to 5 of chapter 1. So if you have any questions, comments, kindly post it. And then if you want to be part of this reading, you can also be part of it by just sending me a message. And then we can read the Bhagavad Gita as it is together. Hare Krishna and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for watching. Chai.